What's up, WBB fans? I am James, and this is another episode of Inside the Cylinder, your home for everything women's basketball. Welcome back, yo! What's happening out there in WBB land? We are back with another episode, and we have a new number one team in college basketball. That's right. For the first time in over 12 months, the champs, the juggernauts, the 43 straight South Carolina Gamecocks go down, and they go down hard at Pauley Pavilion on Sunday to the new number one squad in all of college basketball, the UCLA Bruins. What we're going to do today, we're going to go through the power rankings. We're going to talk about all four of those teams because that's where the most movement came in. We're going to do takeaways from both Saturday and Sunday. We're going to do what to worry about and what is fixable. And at the end, I have a little bit of an analogy that I think we saw in the WNBA season that I think is applicable for what we saw this weekend. As always, grab a soda, grab a chair. Let's get it popping. Week 4, the new power rankings. The UCLA Bruins, of course, well-deserved, absolutely dominant performance. We're going to talk about it. Number one, they're up 5 spots. Up 4 spots. Notre Dame put them in that second spot. Now, interesting take I have on that particular game, but we'll get to that. Huskies stay at 3. Texas stays at 4. I dropped South Carolina to 5. Frankly, they don't really deserve to be up any higher than that, in my opinion. 6, the Tigers from LSU. 7, Boomer Sooner. 8, Maryland. 9, West Virginia. I was getting a lot of hate about West Virginia early in the season when I had them in the top 10 to start the year, but nasty defense. And then we got the USC Fighting Jujus dropping from 2nd to 10th. I dropped them all the way to 10th because that was one of the most putrid performances I can remember a top 5 team delivering at home with 2 of the best 4 or 5 players in the entire country on their roster. That was just flat bad. But first, let's talk about the winners. The Notre Dame Fighting Irish come into the Galen Center and take care of business behind Hannah Hidalgo and Olivia Miles. This backcourt duo combined for, get this, 44 points, 15 assists, 14 rebounds, 8 steals. Absolutely incredible. Olivia Miles, just did a draft profile on her. Said Kiki Iriefin is the no doubt second pick. What'd she do? What Olivia Miles do? She went 4 or 5 from deep. The one knock on her profile has been outside shooting. Well, guess what Olivia was doing this summer in the gym? She was working on that 3-point game. And frankly, you don't really see that much improvement generally over one offseason. Because if I'm being real, there was not much of an outside threat. One of the critiques against the game was that on the professional level, you're going to have a lot of pick and rolls going under the screen because they're not really worried about her taking that shot. Once again, if she continues this, folks, well, definitely we won't have to worry about who Chicago's taking because they will be taking her, but I might have to eat some words. We'll see. A lot to be determined, but what a fantastic game from Olivia Miles, Hannah Hidalgo. Credit to Kate Koval, who played down low, Leitu King. I mean, the Irish only really went 6 deep the whole game. And they handled business. They turned the Trojans over 21 times. 21 times, and it was sloppy. And this brings me to USC. And when I tell you the numbers are bad, I'm almost doing the word bad a disservice. I'm almost being uncharitable to the word bad because that doesn't even begin to describe USC's numbers. 24-67 from the field, 35%. 1 of 13 from 3. That's going to be a major issue this season. And then the aforementioned 21 turnovers. 3 starters have a 5-pack there. Kiki turns it over 4 times. And once again, I want to give credit to Notre Dame. But a lot of these turnovers were just slot ball. These are kicking the ball out of bounds, bouncing it off your knee. And in comes a critique on Lindsey Gottlieb. It was clear that this up-tempo offense, I know that's what you want to do. I know that's what Juju wants to do. But it was clear that was not working. Now, Kiki had a very inefficient game. She went 5 of 15. But 5 of those were missed putbacks. Obviously, you don't want to miss these bunnies, but it's not like they were running the offense through their greatest advantage in the game, which is the post. I mean, I don't understand why Kiki Iriefin wasn't getting a post entry every time down the court. Because Ivy, her game plan was pretty simple. Somebody other than Juju Watkins is going to beat us. We are going to make life completely a nightmare for her. And Hannah Hidalgo did that. Obviously, Juju still ended with 24, but it took 25 shots. 24 points on 25 shots. Any team that plays USC will take that. And twice on Sunday. And there was just no concerted effort by Gottlieb to adjust. Slow the game down. Let's work the post. Let's get those bigs into some foul trouble, perhaps. I mean, Koval had 5, King had 4. I mean, that's without going to the block. And they're not running a deep team. So I didn't like it at all, and I almost felt they were rudderless. They did manage to cut it to 3 points a couple times. And I do know they want to get out and transition and run. But if you can't hit any threes and you're turning the ball over 21 times, you're going to lose a lot of games. And that's why we dropped them 8 spots. Because the spacing was terrible. The shot selection, I shouldn't say the shot selection was terrible. They missed a lot of open shots. They just don't have shooters. Period. End of story. So I don't know really where to go from here. And juxtaposition their team versus the other LA team. Yikes. That's what you call a mismatch. Especially if they have no interest in pounding the paint. But sadly for them, Kate Koval, all the credit to her, they're going to have to deal with Lauren Betts and Janiyah Barker as well. So you're taking a major step up in class. So I don't know. I do not like the state of the USC Trojans right now, but a lot of season to be played. I'll be very interested to see the next time they're on the court, what they look like, what kind of adjustments they make. And Notre Dame moving on up. But now let's take a look at Sunday's game at Pauley Pavilion. Now, if you listened to the podcast last week, I'm kicking myself for not just calling this outright upset. I even make fun of myself, calling myself weak for not doing it. Darn it. But in that little soliloquy, I said the win streak is in serious jeopardy on Sunday. Now, that on its face, of course, is not some crazy call. But what was stunning was the way that they won. Folks, they dominated this game. This game was never in doubt. This game was never close. South Carolina never made a run. There was not one single moment where South Carolina looked like the better team. And the numbers bear that out. Really inefficient for South Carolina. 36% shooting for the game. They managed to go 8 for 12 thanks to Pow Pow and Tessa Johnson combining for 6 of 7. They went 8 of 12 for the game. But with that inefficiency from 2, Chloe Kitts 1 of 7. Fagan 2 of 4. Bree Hall 1 of 5. Raven Johnson 1 of 5. Watkins 3 of 8. McDaniel 1 of 5. They didn't get to the free throw line. 6 of 8. And I guess, when you're down 15-20 the whole dang game, it's not really going to make a difference. And then you go over to UCLA. UCLA played amazing, and they still had room to get better. Folks, they turned the ball over 17 times. And they won by 15. And they won by the breeziest 15 you'll ever see. 47% from the field. 47% from 3. Just cooking. And by the way, Lauren Betts only had 11 points. Only 8 shot attempts. And you get dominated. I said in the pregame, or last week rather on the podcast, I don't know who's gonna be able to check her. Well, they didn't need her. Certainly, like I was anticipating. Obviously, she pulled down 14 boards, and obviously she was a menace on the other side. 4 block shots, just kind of a total paint alterer. But then London Jones, 5 of 5 from deep, 15 points. The bench, in fact, had 34 for UCLA. Super impressive. And I still think there's room to improve. And something interesting of note, when you think about this UCLA team, they now boast the number 1, 2, and 3 recruits from the class of 2022. Obviously, Lauren Betts is the number 1 recruit from that class. Kiki Rice is the 2nd recruit from that class. And obviously, Janiah Barker coming over the 3rd. So this team is absolutely loaded. As for South Carolina, it's funny because I think we're quick to, it's almost like they lose one game for the first time in 43 games. We're like, blow it up. It's time. It's overreaction times a million. I'm not going to begin to tell Dawn Staley anything. She forgot more about basketball yesterday than I know. So I'm not about to do that. But what I am about to talk about is a similarity that I see with this South Carolina team and how we were kind of viewing, or how a lot of people were viewing Las Vegas in the WNBA season. And I think a lot of people really underestimated how unbelievably good players like Aaliyah Boston and Cardoso are. Like, these are all WNBA caliber players. These are all-stars. These are some of the top 20 to 30 players in the world, folks. When you don't have that go-to player, it's been 4 years. It's been 4 years where they've had the best big in the entire country. 4 consecutive years. And I think people, because Dawn Staley is one of the all-time greats already, this dynasty that she's built just keeps chugging along. I think there's an impulse to just assume, oh, she'll figure it out. They'll figure it out. And I'm not discounting that completely. But what I'm saying is Aaliyah Boston and Camila Cardoso aren't walking through that door. And to think they're going to plug and play, no shade on Chloe Kitts. I love Chloe Kitts. No shade on the rook Joyce Edwards. No shade on Ashlyn Watkins. These players aren't in the same stratosphere. They're very good in their own right. And I'm not saying there isn't potential that they could get there at some point, right? But these are just two different sets of caliber of player. And once again, I'm not putting anything past Dawn Staley. Trust me, I'm not writing them off at all. But you're going to have situations where we're kind of stunned with how vulnerable they do in fact look. And that's what we saw on Sunday. And the parallel that I see with the Aces, this isn't a toot my own horn, but I said in early June, folks, this is not the same basketball team. A, Chelsea Gray wasn't there. B, they've played in the last 2 finals. C, they're all playing in the Olympics. D, they can't defend the 3. There's no perimeter defense. And what did everybody, they're fine. Aces are fine. Aces will be fine. I literally screenshot probably 50 because I wanted to do a little trolling, if you know what I mean. But they weren't fine. And once again, the impulse. They got Asia Wilson. They got Becky Hammond. They got the point guard. They got Plum Dog Millionaire, Jackie Young. It's like we're not used to seeing these staples of excellence struggle, right? It's almost this weird situation where like we've been spoiled by just utter excellence that, we just assume it's going to last forever. And that's just not the case. And once again, not writing them off. Obviously, you can't do that. There's too many athletes. There's too many great ball players on the squad. But if these two teams played again tomorrow, I'm telling you who's going to be favored. It's not going to be South Carolina. They have the best player in the game. And that's pretty undeniable. So, South Carolina has a game against Iowa State. I'm telling you right now, I would not want to be a Cyclone or a Cyclones fan. After this game, oh, baby. Whoa. I'm telling you, watch out now. But fantastic weekend for women's college basketball. I was talking about in previous podcasts, the slate hasn't been great. Hasn't been a lot of marquee matchups. These 2 matchups this weekend. Now, frankly, I think if we look back, we'll look back at these games like they weren't the greatest games. But the storylines behind them, the narratives, these were so compelling. These were much must-watch television. And that's so great for women's college basketball. And frankly, if you look at both of those, all 4 teams, all the rosters, you just see the future of the WNBA. Just boom, 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 boom. Player after player after player. There was literally, off the top of my head, there's at least 5 in the Notre Dame game. And then there's at least 6 or 7 in the UCLA game. I mean, it's a great time to be a college basketball fan, and a little bit of parity goes a long way. It was just a great, great weekend for college basketball. Let's get y'all out of here on what to watch. An absolutely banger slate on Wednesday. We got 4 ranked matchups. NC State versus LSU. We got Duke, Oklahoma after that. We got Ole Miss versus UConn after that. And then we get the nightcap, Illinois and Kentucky. Just an unbelievable slate of ranked matchups. Turkey Day, we got South Carolina and Iowa State. Like I said, watch yourself, Iowa State. They could be upset. And then Friday, let's see what Notre Dame can do. Let's see if they can back up that USC win. They take on TCU, Haley Van Lith, Sedona Prince, the undefeated Horned Frogs. I'm telling y'all, I'm going to do it this time because I didn't do it last time. TCU is winning that game. TCU upsetting Notre Dame on Friday. Calling it. And last but certainly not least, in fact, this is the most important thing I'll say all podcasts. I hope everybody out there listening has something to be thankful for. I hope you got friends and family you get to spend time with. I'm thankful for all of you. I'm thankful for women's basketball. As always, like, share, and hey, hit that subscribe button. It's free.